Austin. I've got your work up here, right here. Okay, here's our cover. We got the same that image for Winter Olympics in China, and we've got the Great Wall of China in the wintertime. So I can't think of a more appropriate representation along with the Olympics rings as a signifier. So good job there on the cover. And then you have your first page. Now you've added this texture to your first page. I don't know if is it supposed to be snow? I'm not sure. I don't think you need it. I think it's a little bit, it's just overkill. It's not adding to the message at all. I think it's kind of, it's, I mean, it's okay. I just don't think it's working out real well. I think it's adding more of question marks as opposed to, look at the typography here. And I've found this as an issue throughout the program. I think your leading and your kerning are so tight that this almost looks like one run-on word. It's really, really difficult to read. And we get into that a little bit further. I'll show you some further examples of that. I think that typographically, I think your typography is the weak point of the project right now. So here you have sign-in symbol, then you have your table of contents. However, there's nothing indicating, there's no hierarchy here at table of contents. So in other words, the viewer should be able to take a look at this page right here and just really be able to see that subconsciously. Typically, we draw attention by using hierarchy, and I think two really good ways here would be scale and color. So keep that in mind. Again, okay, now we're gonna get into that same question, that same comment here, because right now you have geography, and there's just, I mean, you can't tell, is that a headline? Is that a subhead? Let's move in a little bit on this typography so you can see what I mean. See how tight everything is? Those letters are right next to each other. I mean, it's just almost really impossible to read because those letters, the kerning is so tight. The leading is pretty tight too, meaning these lines are really close together. And it just results in a typographic color that is very, very dark and almost uninviting to read. Okay, you have your headline here, then you have your paragraph start. However, I've seen in other treatments that you have other headlines. Okay, so that's a headline, language is a headline, arts is a headline, religion is a headline, and culture is a headline. What is separating those from headlines from the rest of the text? Nothing. So there is no typographic hierarchy here. And then that should be a headline. And then even when you have your paragraphs ending, I noticed that this is an issue because your paragraph ends, that's a widow, by the way, typographic widow, and then your new paragraph starts, but you're not marking your paragraph. The new paragraphs are typically marked with either a space between paragraphs or an indent, while yours has neither. So it's really, really difficult to tell where one paragraph ends and where the next begins. That in conjunction with the fact that there's just no hierarchy. For example, why does this sentence here end right in the middle of the type box? It just ends right there and it starts again at the beginning. So that's really odd. A lot of really weird things going on with your typography. So again, I think that type is the weak point of your project. Other than that, I think everything looks great. Again, this is not handled well because that is scaled as such that the effects are not scaling in proportion to the actual object. So that's why you're getting these real dark smudges here. And I've mentioned that several times through the weeks. I'm not real sure if the final week of the class is the appropriate time to introduce new patterns. And I say that because they're not right now. They're just not in your your methodology. I mean, there's been no research or anything other up to this point indicating that this is a good choice. Okay, so and the rest of the presentation, I think we've talked pretty much about everything else. So my main concern is introduction of the patterns, the effects not being scaled, and your typography. So other than that, I think you've done a great job. If you have any questions, feel free to get with me. Okay, thanks, Austin.